The three legs of the stool are critical for causing you to feel full. And that's really what we're going for if we want to optimize our metabolic health. The last thing I want you guys to do is to start your day with empty carbohydrates. They're going to make you searching for food 45 minutes later. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Energetically Efficient Show. I'm your host, Kristin Rowell, and I'm super excited to be back with you this week because this week we're talking all about how we want to eat in order to be full. And I'll state at the outset of this recording that I cannot stand the word full because to me, full is like we're way overstuffed and we have to unzip our pants when we leave the restaurant because we've eaten way too much. That's not what I'm talking about. I like to use the term instead satiated or satisfied instead of full. So I'm going to use the word full probably throughout the course of the show just because it's easy for people to know what that means. But I really prefer to use the word satiated or satisfied whenever we eat because that's really what we're aiming for every time we're going to have a meal. So I'm super excited to get into this with you today. And I will tell you before we begin that I actually recorded this episode several weeks ago for you. And then I learned subsequently, and this was unfortunate for me, that the audio was corrupted. So all of a sudden, apparently my microphone that I was using died. So the battery died and it wasn't able to record any audio. So I have to re-record it here. And so what I think is that anytime something like that happens with the universe, it means that what I'm going to record for you today is going to be better than the first one would have been. So thank you for bearing with me as we get into this topic all about how you are going to eat to be full. It's no secret that all of the time I talk about that I want you to eat fiber first, prioritize protein, fill in with fat, and carefully add carbs. Now, I created the prioritize protein, fill in with fat, and carefully add carbs several years ago. And then I remember getting into the book by Glucose Goddess, her original book that, oh my God, I can't believe the name is escaping me right now, but in any event, her first book. And I read that and I really started to understand more about the importance of fiber. We had delved into fiber during my time in nutritional therapy school. And I don't think I appreciated it as much at the time because at the time that I went through nutritional therapy school, I wasn't yet in perimenopause. And for all of my women who are in the phase of perimenopause, menopause life, or even for all of my men who are getting into that ages 40, 50, 60, I can't impress upon you enough how important fiber is if you want to feel full. Okay, so what is it biologically that we need to consume, or what is it in terms of the science that we need to consume in order to feel full? So the exciting thing is you only have to memorize three things, or you only have to know three things in order to feel full. And actually the answer is not water, but I will say water is another like bonus that I'll give you. I can't tell you the number of times that I say to my clients when they say that they feel hungry, I'm like, how much water have you had today? They're like, oh, actually, Kristin, not that much. And I say, okay, when you feel hungry, go slam at least 8 ounces of water, maybe 12, wait 15 minutes and see if you still feel hungry. And they're like, oh my God, I am not hungry at all. So it's true that a large part of the time we think we're hungry, we're actually suffering from some measure of dehydration. We're getting a little more dehydrated. And what our body is actually seeking is water. So try to drink water every time you feel hungry. And that's just an extra tip that I wasn't intending to share today, but I just thought about it because I was drinking water. So great. Okay. So setting aside water, what are the three primary things that we need to feel full? And I want you to think of this as you listen to this episode. I want you to think of the three things as like a three-legged stool. Now, the stools that I have around me, the chairs that I have sitting at my island here in my kitchen are four-legged stools. So I can't use that as an example, but everyone in their life has seen a three-legged stool. If you have the three legs that are separated out in a triangle shape, of course, the chair will sit there on its own. You can sit on it. It's stable. I'm not talking about a four-legged stool that's missing a leg. I'm talking about a three-legged stool. So that's what I want you to picture. So the first thing that we need in order to feel full when we eat a meal is that we need to consume protein. And the reason that we need protein as the first leg of our stool is because protein is going to cause our body to produce or secrete a hormone that's referred to as peptide YY. Now, peptide YY, for whatever reason, that's what they named it. I didn't come up with the name. I think it's a dumb name, but just remember that peptide YY is what your body produces in response to the consumption of protein. And peptide YY is one of the three legs of the stool that will help to make you feel full. So anytime you're preparing a meal, I want you to focus on where's my protein? Where's my protein? I actually want you to build your meal around your protein. How am I getting my protein? And the reason for that is not only is it going to make you feel full, because again, you consume protein and your body is then going to produce peptide YY, which is one of the 3 legs of the stool that's going to contribute to a feeling of satiety. But also when you consume protein, it's going to help you build muscle. So I want you to be building muscle because that's one of the things that is going to give you superpowers as you age. And protein, the reason it's going to help you build muscle is because the substrate in protein, or the components of protein that help to build muscle, are something called amino acids. And we have essential amino acids and we have non-essential amino acids. And so as for the essential amino acids, which are the most critical in terms of muscle building, the word essential is in front of them. And I should tell you right now that there are 9. So there are 9 essential amino acids. But the reason that we have the word essential in front of them is because, number 1, your body cannot produce them on its own. Okay. Your body can do a lot of cool stuff. It can do a lot of things on its own, but it cannot produce essential amino acids. And number 2, the reason that we put the word essential in front of them is because you have to have essential amino acids to live. If you go many days, many weeks, many months, and even years without getting your body the essential amino acids that it needs, your body is going to start to break down in many, many different ways. And so we have to have them to live. So not only do I want you consuming protein because you're going to build these awesome, sexy muscles, and because it's going to make you feel full, as I've already told you, because of peptide YY, but it's also because you have to have them to survive. You need them to live. Essential amino acids help your body repair tissues. That's obviously part of the reason that you build muscle when you consume essential amino acids, but they will give you energy. They will make you feel better. We really, really want to focus on protein, you guys. And again, because this episode of the Energetically Efficient Show is focused on what we need to consume to feel full, if you take away nothing else on the protein topic, it is that it will make you feel full. Okay. Protein will make you feel full because of peptide YY. So now I've covered the first leg of the stool. So after we get to the first leg of the stool, now you've got your grass-fed ground beef. That's a great sort of protein. You've got your organic pasture-raised chicken breast. You've got your, let's say, really good bowl of yogurt that has good protein in it. You've got some sort of protein. Eggs, of course, have protein. Egg whites more than egg yolks, but all of it has protein. Then what is the second leg of the stool that we need in order to feel full? Well, the second leg of the stool, so here's our 3-legged stool, and now we're on leg number 2. The second leg of the stool is you need to consume healthy fats. Okay. What you're looking for is you need to consume healthy fats because, again, just like protein causes our bodies to secrete a hormone called peptide YY, the consumption of healthy fats causes our body to secrete a hormone called cholecystokinin. I can't spell it for you. I wish I could. I'd have to Google it right now. I'm not going to do that for you, but just know that cholecystokinin is often referred to, abbreviated as CCK. Much easier to remember. CCK is a hormone, just like peptide YY, and the secretion of CCK is going to help your body feel full. So it's one of those things in our 3-legged stool that we need to feel full. So where would we get these sources of healthy fats? Well, there's lots of different sources that I love, but I'll just name the ones that I recommend to clients because these are going to be your best sources of healthy fats. So one, of course, is grass-fed butter. Amazing. Another one is avocados or avocado oil. Awesome. Another one is olives or olive oil. Amazing. Another one is organic virgin unrefined coconut oil. Notice that I said organic, virgin, unrefined. I've been at grocery stores where I see like a liquid coconut oil that says refined, or that isn't some sort of special unrefined and virgin and organic coconut oil. I don't recommend that. Coconut oil in its natural state is hard. So it should be hard in the jar. If it's liquid, it's a refined coconut oil, and that's not as good for you. So we're going to have those healthy fats so that we can produce that CCK because that's the second leg of the stool. So in addition to olives, olive oil, avocados, avocado oil, grass-fed butter, coconut oil, also think of all of your different categories of nuts. So when I say nuts, I mean macadamia nuts, pecans, peanuts, walnuts, which are amazing for you, hazelnuts. There's so many different kinds of nuts you can eat, you guys. And then don't forget about your seeds like pumpkin seeds, flax seeds, chia seeds. All of those provide really good sorts of healthy fat as well. And so those are the things that we're thinking of when we want to consume healthy fats. Those are all excellent sources of healthy fats. Of course, you could eat full fat dairy. You could have organic heavy cream. I like to put that in my coffee many days. So all of those are great sources of healthy fats. And those are the second leg of the stool that's going to help you feel full. So if we're making a plate, let's say we're coming up with our breakfast, or we're coming up with our lunch, or we're coming up with our dinner, I'm already thinking, okay, great. For my protein, one of my favorite things is steak. So I'm going to pick steak for my protein. And I personally tend to like leaner steaks. So I'm more drawn to something like a tenderloin than I am to a ribeye. I did buy a ribeye last week. I made it. It was fantastic. But for me, I would much prefer to have a higher protein, lower fat steak, like a tenderloin or like a filet or like a New York strip or something that's leaner. And then I would prefer to get my fat from grass-fed butter, from avocado, from some sort of nuts, from some sort of olives, those kinds of things. So I'm thinking steak. And then for my healthy fat, let's just use for this example, I'm going to put grass-fed butter on top of my steak, or I'm going to fry my steak, or I'm going to do it in the air fryer after I brush it with a ton of olive oil. And then I'm going to put some vegetables with it. And I'll get to vegetables in another section here, but I'm going to put those in grass-fed butter, or I'm going to also douse those in olive oil. So now my protein is the steak and my healthy fats is the olive oil and the grass-fed butter. So I have 2 of the 3 legs of the stool that are going to make me feel full. Okay, so now you may be wondering, what's the third leg of the stool, Kristin? In addition to your body producing peptide YY after it eats protein, in addition to your body producing CCK, remember that's that fandangled word, cholecystokinin, after you consume fats, what is the third leg of the stool? Before I get to the third leg of the stool, I want to back up. Remember when I told you what all these different amazing sources of healthy fats are? Okay, you remember that, right? That was just a few minutes ago. And remember when I also was telling you about protein and the importance of protein because it has essential amino acids? Well, one thing I failed to tell you about fats, which I think is just so important, is just like protein contains essential amino acids, the right kind of fats, like some of the fats I mentioned and the most amazing fats that you can eat. I also forgot to say something like really good high quality salmon, because salmon is a really good fatty fish. So we might want to have salmon. So in addition to something like salmon, which is amazing for healthy fats, you could have, like I mentioned, all the nuts, all the other things I said. But my real point in coming back to this point too, meaning CCK and healthy fats, is just like amino acids are essential. There are essential amino acids and you need those in order to survive and your body can't make them. Guess what, folks? The same is true for fats. There are essential fatty acids that you have to get from food or supplements. Your body can't make them. And if you go a long time without those essential fatty acids, just like if you go a long time without essential amino acids, your body will start to break down. You will develop all sorts of symptoms and you'll feel miserable. So what are essential fatty acids and where do we get those? Those are things like EPA and DHA. I want you to think of omega-3 and omega-6. You see those on labels all of the time. Salmon is a fantastic source of essential fatty acids. Organic raw walnuts are another amazing source of essential fatty acids. Grass-fed butter, another amazing source of essential fatty acids. So when I identified for you a number of those sources of fats, I really wanted to make sure I was giving you several of them that contain essential fatty acids, because again, you need to have those to live. And for those of us who I would call in my vintage, okay, so I'm somewhere in the 40s, getting closer to my decade that starts with a 5, getting very close, in fact. We were raised really on this whole fat-free craze. I remember so many years sitting at lunch in middle school or high school thinking I was winning at life because I was eating carrots, pretzels, and 4 Snackwell's cookies. I thought that was so amazing because that meal had virtually no fat in it. Well, fast forward a number of years, and I've learned that for my friends in my vintage who had their gallbladders removed, where the gallbladder robbers took out their gallbladders, many times that happens because you've been on a fat-free diet for so many years. It's actually really bad to not give your body the essential fatty acids that it needs. So again, coming back to how we get full, the second leg of the stool is we have to get those healthy fats in. We have to eat those essential fatty acids. And I also recommend, especially for my women in perimenopause, I do recommend that you take a high-quality fish oil. I take an extremely high-quality fish oil every single day. It helps with fat loss. It helps with hydration of your cells. It helps with brain health. I will put a link below to my favorite fish oil. The one that I take is by Biotics Research Corporation, and it is called Optimal EFAs. So I will put a link below that so that you can get that if you want to try it. I take 2 of those capsules a day. I'm pretty sure the bottle recommends 4. I only take 2 because then it saves me. So I use those and I absolutely love it. Okay, so moving on to what I promised you, which is our third category of how we get full. So remember, we have 3 legs of this stool. We already talked about our protein, peptide YY. We already talked about our healthy fats, CCK, and now we're at our third leg of the stool. Now, for anyone who understands macronutrients, you may already be thinking, oh, Kristin's about to talk about carbs. She's about to get into carbs. And I sort of am. I mean, that's kind of true. But really what the third category is when we're talking about the 3 legs of the stool to make you feel full, the third category is volume. Okay? So the third category is volume. What do I mean by that? Well, I want you to picture in your stomach that you have what are called proprioceptors. So what I always think about with proprioceptors is I think of if you walk into a dark room, so I'm closing my eyes for you right now, walking into a dark room, I'm going to put my hands out to try to feel the wall, to feel where I am. I'm trying to find my place in the room. I'm sensing where the edges are of the room. You have these receptors in your stomach that does the same thing. So when you put food into your stomach, and let's say you eat, I mean, think about the biggest thing you could eat. Think about a whole 9x13 pan of lasagna. Okay, that is a lot of volume. If you put that in your stomach, at some point, probably halfway through the pan, I'm hoping, your stomach is going to be like, oh my God, because inside the walls of your stomach, it's feeling that food start to hit the inside of the walls, and those proprioceptors are going, I'm getting full. It's sensing that there's a ton of volume in your stomach. So that's the third leg of the stool. So if our goal is fat loss, if our goal is optimizing our metabolic health, if our goal is to not be obese, if our goal is to reverse insulin resistance, if our goal is to look better naked, if our goal is to not have a ton of excess body fat on our body in whatever way that means to you, then you really want to consider, how do I do the 3 legs of the stool where I am putting in protein in adequate amounts to be able to stimulate muscle protein synthesis. I will come back to that in a few minutes for you. How do I get healthy fats that I know are going to feed that essential fatty acid desire that my body needs and that are going to taste good and that I'm going to enjoy? And then third, how do I get volume? But most importantly, if you have one of the goals that I just asked you a question about, how do I get volume that is for the fewest calories possible? How do I make sure I'm not just eating the entire 9x13 pan of lasagna? How do I get volume that's for less calories? Well, that would be, you would do volume that has a ton of fiber that's largely vegetables. That's what you would do. Think about it, you guys. Picture consuming 2 full cups of broccoli. That is a lot of food. It has very few calories. Now picture eating, and I'll think about something else in terms of volume. Picture eating, if you dump 2 cups of broccoli out on a plate, I want you to picture that same size. If you look at the mound of broccoli that comes with 2 cups, picture that same size, but now we're talking about nachos. We're talking about nacho chips with a bunch of toppings on them. Think about how many more calories are in the plate of nachos than are in the plate of broccoli. So if I have goals of reducing my body fat and optimizing my metabolic health, I'm looking at really good high quality protein, really good high quality fats, and volume that largely comes from vegetables. And of course, some fruits. I just don't want you to eat vats of fruit because fruit can have a lot of sugar as well. And it can really start to feed that craving for more sugar, especially if your goal is fat loss, especially if you have a disrupted gut that can kind of like have sugar cravings go on overdrive. So we really want to think about how can we do vegetables. So what would this look like in real life? Well, I do this all of the time. I take, let's call it 5 ounces, 6 ounces, 4 ounces of cooked grass-fed ground beef, and I might put that in a bowl, and I put that with, chop up easily, a half an avocado, an ounce or 2 of Gotham Greens vegan pesto, some sort of really good healthy fat. Maybe it's 15 pitted olives. Maybe it's actually just some olive oil, but I would take something that has a really good healthy fat, and then I would pair it with, for the third leg of the stool, cooked broccoli, a bunch of onions, a bunch of mushrooms, a bunch of garlic, whatever it is that is my favorite vegetable or mix of vegetables of choice. And that would round out my meal. Now, if I eat that meal, if I have 5 ounces of grass-fed ground beef, a half an avocado, and let's say 2 cups of a mix of cooked broccoli, cauliflower, onions, and garlic, I am so full, I don't need to eat for hours, and I feel really good. It's powering my brain. It's supplying the raw materials needed to go to my muscles to stimulate muscle protein synthesis. I promised I'd come back to you on that, and I will shortly. But that's really how I would do it. Now, I always say when I'm giving this example, let's contrast that amazing meal of the grass-fed ground beef, the avocado, and the mix of cooked vegetables. Let's contrast that to, let's say, a sleeve of Ritz crackers. Okay, a sleeve of Ritz crackers might look like a lot of food, but truly, in terms of protein, nope, it doesn't have any. So we don't have one leg of the stool. In terms of healthy fats, nope, it doesn't have any. Now it does have fat in it, but it's actually seed oils and bad fats, which aren't great. So okay, I'll give it some credit that has a little bit of fat. And then in terms of volume, does it have volume? Well, it kind of might look like it does because it's a whole row of crackers, but you unwrap those crackers and you smash that all up in your hands, and you're basically looking at a pile of dust that isn't food. If you eat that sleeve of Ritz crackers, you'll probably feel satiated for 10 minutes. Maybe 12 minutes, maybe 15 if you're lucky, but you're looking for the next hit of food 45 minutes later. And it's not just because you didn't consume what is needed on the 3 legs of the stool. It's also because by eating those Ritz crackers, which are largely just empty carbohydrates, empty sugar, because that's what you ate and all of that sugar and that carb had no fiber, so it didn't have a lot of volume. You're now going to be on this blood sugar roller coaster, which after you crash down in your roller coaster, you're like, oh my God, I need to eat. I'm hungry. Where's the next meal? So you're not supporting your body in a way that's actually going to allow you to feel full because you didn't adhere to my formula, which is let's go with the 3 legs of the stool. The 3 legs of the stool are critical for allowing you to feel full. And causing you to feel full, I should say. And that's really what we're going for if we want to optimize our metabolic health. The last thing I want you guys to do is to start your day with empty carbohydrates. They're going to make you searching for food 45 minutes later and then cause you to just be on this blood sugar roller coaster all day and eating and eating and eating to caloric excess. That's going to completely destroy any of your metabolic health goals. So I told you I'd come back to this issue of protein and eating enough to support muscle protein synthesis. So I want to end this energetically efficient show with that. I've talked about this in other podcast episodes, but really what this comes down to is when you are making this amazing meal that has the 3 legs of the stool, for that first leg of the stool, for the protein, I want you to make sure that whatever you're consuming has at least 30 grams of protein in it. Now, this is something that I learned from my good friend, Dr. Gabrielle Lyon, who I adore. She spoke at a health conference that I was at back during the time of COVID, and she was really talking about the science about why the 30 grams of protein in a meal is so significant in terms of why you need that much to stimulate muscle protein synthesis. So for the purposes of this show, I'll just leave you with the fact that that is how much you need. So I always create meal plans for my clients where they're eating 35 grams, 40 grams, sometimes 50 grams. For some of my men, even 60 grams of protein in one meal, depending on how many times they're going to eat during the day. And when they consume that much protein, I know that they are stimulating muscle protein synthesis. And what do I mean by that? What I mean by stimulating muscle protein synthesis is, I mean that the brain is sending the signal to the bicep, is sending the signal to the quad, is sending the signal to the calf, is sending the signal to the abs, is sending the signal to the shoulders. Wherever you want to build muscle, your brain is saying, build muscle, build muscle, build muscle. That's what the signal is that's actually going to those muscle groups. Your brain has to connect to those muscle groups to make it happen, and protein is the substrate that's going to allow that to happen. So really make sure you're focusing on getting at least 30 grams of protein. And by way of an easy cheat sheet, I'll just lay this out for you. For women, I want you to focus on at least 4 to 5 ounces of grass-fed ground beef, at least 4 ounces of organic chicken breast, at least 6 ounces of, let's say, wild-caught shrimp with the tails off. And all of this, by the way, when I'm giving you ounces, I'm talking cooked. I like you to weigh it cooked. Bison, 5 ounces at least. Salmon, 5 ounces at least, okay? So minimum, we're talking about 4, 5, 6 ounces for a lot of these foods. And then you can go up from there in terms of whatever you need to feel satiated, pairing it, of course, with your healthy fats and your volume, which will largely be from carbohydrates that contain fiber. Okay, so that's going to be, again, be your vegetables. I think organic vegetables are best. I'm recording this when it's in wintertime in most climates. So what I would recommend to you is in the wintertime, you consider eating your vegetables more cooked. And in the summertime, if it agrees with you, you consider eating your vegetables more raw. This is one of the reasons, you guys, I really don't like juicing. I don't recommend that you juice your vegetables. It really removes a lot of the fiber and it takes away from that satiety that we need to feel full. It removes the volume. I hope that you found this episode helpful. I hope you have some new takeaways for yourself in terms of what kind of meals that you're going to create in order to feel full. And in a future episode, what I will make sure that I do is I will give you some more examples of meals. I've already recorded some episodes with healthy meals under 20 minutes or less. So make sure you check those out. And I will see you back here for another episode of the Energetically Efficient Show. Bye-bye.